My name is Hiroki Matsuchi, and you are listening to or watching Bridges, a weekly showcase of a single content creator in Japan and their content. This is episode number 14. And today, we are featuring an informational blog that encourages you all out there to get naked and go take a bath with groups of people you may or may not have met before. Sounds interesting, right? But of course, we're talking about Onsen Meijin, run by Misha Berger, who is originally a Dutchman, but now calls Oita, of course in Japan, his home. Living in Oita, he was first introduced to the joys of onsen by his wife, and soon became hooked. After taking it upon himself to become an Onsen Meijin, which means onsen master or onsen expert, he made the rounds and visited all 88, that's right, 88 of the required onsen, collected the stamps at each location he bathed in, and at the end of it all, he received the prestigious black Onsen Meijin towel with gold lettering. That's quite a feat. What initially attracted me to the site was the About Me page, where Misha recounts his story. Living on Shikoku, actually, there's a very similar pilgrimage that can be done by circumambulating the entire island of Shikoku, essentially. Again, it's the smaller of the 4 islands in Japan, which includes not 88 onsen, but 88 temples that were once walked, or thought to have walked, by one of the very famous Buddhist patrons in Japan, Kobo Daishi, also known as Kukai, I believe. So after traveling throughout all of these 88 temples and performing the proper rituals, a person is said to kind of gain enlightenment. And perhaps Misha has done the same after taking his trip. He does certainly quite look like a very enlightened person, in the picture at least. So let's put 10 minutes on the timer and see how much we can see of Onsen Meijin in this unguided tour of the sites. Oh wow, that's interesting. Yeah, so this is one of the very interesting sites that I've, actually the only site so far I've ever seen that goes into energy saving mode when it remains inactive for a certain period of time. Again, I kind of, maybe there's a good reason for it, but I always wonder what the energy savings really are. All right, so why don't we start with the first page that I ever kind of landed on, which is the About Me page. So I'll read a part of it, just excerpt. The prefecture of Oita, and especially the town of Beppu, are famous for their natural hot spring baths known as onsen. Not long after I moved to Japan, my wife, Maiko, introduced me to the different kinds of baths, the Japanese bathing culture, and etiquette, which is something that's very important. And, I just added that. I tend to add a commentary along the way, so please excuse it. I soon started enjoying onsening. When I found out I could become Onsen Meijin, Japanese for onsen master, by visiting 88 different onsen in Beppu, I started going to onsen regularly. My wife and I began collecting stamps in our spa ports, which I guess is a takeoff on passports, in February of 2008. And on June 4th, 2010, we got our 88th stamp, earned our black towels with gold letters, and became onsen masters. Yeah, let me keep going. Through this site, I hope I can help other people find and enjoy the best onsen in and around Beppu. If you have any questions, please contact me. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. Yeah, it seems like a very nice guy. So why don't we go to his splash page, the home page, and see what's there. Welcome. This site is about onsen bathing in Japan, and especially about the various baths in the town of Beppu. In the south of Japan. Read more about me and find out what Onsen Meijin means, or scroll down and take a look at some of the onsen I visited recently. I've actually only made a couple trips to Kyushu, but I have been to Beppu, and I've even been to a couple onsen there. So why don't we just quickly take a look at the first entry, or the most recent entry on this list, which is the Buzenya Ryokan, which is like kind of like I guess a Japanese equivalent of a bed and breakfast. So, of course, in addition to having the title, or the location written out in kanji, he also has it written out in romaji, for those of you who maybe don't read kanji. He has the address, has the hours of operation, the price for adults and children, as well as the website, if it's available. And one of the neat things about this site is it's not just informational. It's not just for people looking to get information about these various locations. But it's an entertainment destination in and of itself. He's got tons and tons of pictures, and they don't necessarily connect directly to the onsen, but I think that's one of the reasons why this site is so interesting. Take, for example, this first picture, which is a picture of a kind of lonely-looking dog, looking very stoic. And the caption underneath is, "Beware of the fierce guard dog." This is our second visit to Buzenya Ryokan. The first time there were no other guests, and the owner said we could bathe together. Wow, that's actually not that common co-ed baths in Japan. Although we were the only customers, again, we had to use separate baths this time. Oh, that's too bad. It didn't matter much. We could still talk to each other while soaking. That's one of the interesting things, especially about a lot of onsen in Japan that have outdoor baths. Very often, it's a single outdoor space that's just partitioned by like a bamboo wall or a relatively thin wall. And if it is just you and your significant other there, very often you can communicate freely over the partition. Yeah, so he has lots of beautiful pictures of this particular onsen, as well as tons and tons of other pictures of different onsen from Beppu and the area around the city. One of the things that strikes me as quite interesting about this website is the fact that he's actually able to get permission to photograph inside the baths. Many places will say, absolutely not. You cannot bring cameras in. I mean, for obvious reasons, they don't want you snapping pictures of, naked men and women and doing exactly what he's doing with them, publishing them on the internet. But yeah, it really is quite amazing. He definitely has quite a few pictures inside the baths, which is something that's quite rare. Men's bath. The water was very hot. I had to add a lot of cold water before I could get it. Interesting. Yeah, so this one seems like a relatively kind of simple bath. Not like the elaborate onsens that many people imagine when they think of Japanese onsen. Well, let me see if I can find one that is maybe a little bit more fancy, a little bit more upscale. All right, let's see. So he has his onsen divided into categories, which are searchable by area as well as category. Some of the areas include Beppu, Hamawaki, Horita, Kamegawa, Kanakaiji, Kannawa, Myoban, outside of Beppu, the Shuhen area, and Shibaseki. And categories include 100 yen onsen, which I think is good for people on a budget. Let's see, average price. Let's see, expensive. Let's see if we can find a classy onsen. Well, why don't we try the first one on the list, which is the Hotel Hananoyu. Hananoyu, okay. All right. Well, it is quite expensive. 900 yen for an adult, which is roughly the equivalent of $9. 600 yen for children. In September, I visited Sendai in the north of Japan for a few days. My wife, Maiko, was present at the conference. At a conference, her mom and I came along for sightseeing. Ah, so this is an onsen out of Beppu, out of Sendai. Wow. Interesting. I didn't know he had entries up in the northern part of Japan. This onsen looks like it might be in the mountains. I wonder if it's still there. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that right now. Let's see. On the second day of our trip, the weather wasn't great, so we decided to go onsening. I didn't know it was a verb. In a small town resort called Akiyu. The first place we found after getting off the bus was Hotel Hananoyu. The place is a bit expensive, but for 900 yen, you can try 2 different baths. Nice scenery, but the water was lukewarm, and I could smell the chlorine in the water. Wow! And they call it an onsen, even though it has chlorine. I wonder if it's actual water from the ground, from a spring. The food looks absolutely delicious. And one of the neat things about this website is also the fact that they have maps accompanying all of their entries, so easy to find. All right, let's see if we can find any other expensive onsen. Oh, let's try something different. Let's go to the search page and see if we can define what we're looking for based on some of these categories, some of these different criteria. So let's see. So yeah, this is one of the neat things about the kind of search page on this website is the fact that you can define different criteria based on and or kind of Boolean rules. So for example, let's say we wanted an onsen in Beppu. And let's say we also wanted an onsen outside of Beppu for some reason. And let's define some other criteria. Let's say we wanted one of his favorites that also has a rotenburo, which is like a outdoor open-air bath. And using the Google map, as well as some of these different pins, we can find one. So let's see if we can find one on the coast. Let's zoom in on this coastal collection of onsen that for some reason... Oh, here we go. This is Beppu Onsen. Hotel Seifu. Oh, interesting. 500 yen. Looks like a very modern onsen. Oh, this is interesting. The source of the onsen water just outside the hotel. Ah, maybe he couldn't get any pictures inside the bath this time. Seems like the only pictures he has of are of the exterior. Well, why don't we try a different one? Let's say favorites inside of Beppu. Let's try a beautiful one in the mountains. How's that? Oh, Hanano-yu, and that's one we already found already. Let's see. How about outside of Beppu too? All right, so there's two that are very, very, very far separated. Looks like they're well in the mountains. Let's check that out. Oh, Yufuing. Oh, let's see. I've been to Yufuing. I've actually spent a couple days on a couple different occasions in Yufuing. It's one of my favorite places in Japan, actually. Obviously, really fantastic baths. The second destination of our trip to Yufuing was Yufuing Yasuha. I liked it there. The design of the building is nice, and although the baths are quite small, the onsen water is very good. The temperature was perfect, and it felt nice on my skin. One of the interesting things about onsen is the quality of the water actually varies depending on the location. In most places that actually have real onsen, the water does come from the ground, heated by sometimes these kind of pockets of heat, these kind of thermal areas underneath the earth. And, of course, passing through the ground, depending on the sediment in the ground, the water picks up some of that. And a lot of people believe that different regions have water that contains sediments or minerals that has certain like healing properties, or properties that will make your skin nice and smooth or soft, or cure things like shingles or dry skin or eczema. Let's see, the temperature was perfect, felt nice on my skin. Wow, there's some beautiful pictures. Entrance to the bath. Soap, shampoo, and towels are provided, which is definitely something that's quite good to know. A lot of baths, especially the cheaper, smaller ones, they don't provide things like soap, shampoo, and towels unless you pay a little bit of extra money. Very often, especially the cheaper baths that are maybe more for local people, you tend to have to bring your own stuff, which is usually what they do. And here it is, a beautiful picture inside the onsen. Cooler water may sit at the bottom of the bath. The pole is used to mix hotter and cooler water. That's interesting. I've never seen that before. Well, I guess it makes sense if the water is kind of stagnant. The walls have interesting decorations. Wow, it almost looks like a fossilized fern or something. Oh, shoots. It looks like we just blew past the 10-minute mark. So again, this is a really cool site. Even if you don't live in the Beppu area, it's a great place just to see some really amazing pictures and really cool media of some different onsen in Japan. And if you are, you can definitely use it as a resource to find a good place to take a bath. And that's it. So thank you all for listening or watching episode 14 of Bridges. Please feel free to get in touch with us over at bridges@wanwan.fm with any comments, questions, or suggestions for future content creators to be featured on the show. And once again, my name is Hiroki Matsuji, and this is Bridges. Thank you all for watching. See you next week.